Okay, let me see. Did you put in there? I don't see it.
Okay. Did you see in the chat box it's not up in there?
No, no. The
Oh,
last message was from CJ that I see.
okay. But Mr. Matt, can you see it from your camera? Would you read it for us? I can't hear your mute is on. Matt, can you hear us? Your mute is on.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can. Thank you.
Okay, let me see if I can get back to it. Here we go. So a seed within,
Yes.
the seed within, a seed unyielding, deep within the earth, dreams of the sunlight, yearns for the new birth. It waits, it grows, fueled by unseen might. It breaks and breaks the darkness, reaching for the light. So too, within us, a moral seed resides, nature by kindness, watered by our strides. Through trials and shadows, it strives to find its way, to bloom in compassion, brighten each new day. Let empathy be the sun, grace the gentle rain, and watch our inner seed blossom free from pain. From in the growth of goodness, true strength we'll find, a moral compass guided heart and mind.
Thank you for reading that for us. I always like to start with a poem to kind of set us into our theme. Morals are one of those things that you are not going to have one conversation about and be done. That's let's just be clear there. And so that's not what our intention is tonight. Our intention tonight is to just really listen to a brother who has walked a path that has allowed him to take a unique look at morals and be able to share that information with others across not only races but also cultures, which is one of those things where morals really do begin to show themselves in a different kind of way. For those of us who are familiar with different types of law, we know that Sharia law and U.S. law are different things. Law in Russia and law in Norway are different things. So the moral standards by which they measure things, the moral compass even in which they live their lives is different. And so we are here tonight with Brother Mack to talk to us about the basics of morals. So Brother Mack, welcome so much. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here. I'd like to ask you first and foremost, what made you feel like this was a good topic to talk about right now?
Well, just the times we see right now and how things are going to take more than just, I think, one individual or two individuals is going to take a lot. And then once it take a lot, you have to build an army, I think, of people that you told me a long time ago that we should have built. But I think now it's so much, it's trickled down so far within different generations. And then we see the next generation that's getting ready to run everything. We really have to put our foot down now because we are the hybrids of this thing. We are the people who got to see a lot of this stuff created that's causing all this chaos and problems to demoralize everybody around us anyway, right? So, but yeah, it's just we have to just understand it, like you say, from a simple way, And I think that starting it is first. If people don't understand themselves, they ain't gonna be able to understand nobody else. And you have to understand how do I do that. That'll be the next question that a person would ask is, well, how do I understand myself? We would say practice, and then we start saying practice. They won't know what to practice at this point. It'd be like, okay, what should I practice? And it's hard to give people their walk when it's their walk, right? So how do we get to a point in the middle of this? Morals has to be a base, just like mathematics. It has to be there as a baseline where we can start from, in a lot of different ways that's truly universal. Because everybody feeling can come together as one anyway, because truly we do have oneness in us all. We just have to find it. you know. So morals is the point to where it can touch that because everybody's born with that, you know. So it ain't that you taught what we taught demoralize us. You know what I'm saying? It changes our lives. So I wanted to add that in there too, because everything that we do moral, immoral, and demoralization is around it. You know, that's why it's so hard for everybody to really see it. How you gonna see it if everything around you is demoralizing? You know what I'm saying? You just accept that as the norm, and that is the problem where we are now. The norm is very immoral. I use the immoral on that one because it's bad, you know. And we most people who don't care because you talked about it before. Care is in there trying to get morals or understanding morals. You have to have some type of care somewhere, you know. And then going back from even there, at this point, we have to have some type of belief in something. You know, what do you believe in? You know, so once we can get to a point to first find a person's belief, I think to find their moral compass is understanding who's divine to them or something that they'll do or die for themselves, not what I'm asking them to do for. That's your choice, whatever you choose, because now we can get to a point of a thought where it's that severe as life and death. That's all we have, right? So if it's nothing in between that, I think we on that basis of understanding, morals could be understanding because if he's right and I'm right, or she's right and I'm right, who's really right? But we talked about it before. Traditions and culture is the number one problem we have as far as demoralizing us, not realizing it because it's been done for so long, you know. And it hurts us all not doing it because it's fun, exciting, is what my grandma did and my great grandpa did. This is what we like, right? But not knowing what it's really doing for us, even dumbing us down or putting us even in the future where we going with this. Not even paying attention to it because that's what everybody always did, you know. And those are things we have to remind people of that. Think about it now, since I think we are that hybrid. I think after 2000, even before that, 90 babies period, we went through a whole bunch of things of growth from what our parents did in the 70s. So that group of people, we was in the midst of everything at this time. So we got to see, okay, things have really changed. I had to ask my mom. I was like, Mom, she 80 years. I said, the way when you raised me, I said, you looking at this world right now. I said, what do you see? You know? And she's not gonna really tell me a lot of it because she just accepted it now. You know what I'm saying? She's not that teacher no more. And that's what we have in front of us. None of them don't want to teach this anymore. And these are the bases of understanding what we always look up to these people. You know, these are the people we look up, but they're tired. I mean, it's so bad. That's how bad this world is, right?
Well,
So
I want to jump in here and thank you for that. That I know once you get going, you get going. But I'm gonna have to jump in here and get some things in here because you said quite a bit in that. You talked about tradition, you talked about culture, you talked about influences of the families and things of that nature. So I think one of the things that I'd like to maybe see you address a little bit more is a working definition for morals. Because what I'm hearing from you is that the working definition is something that we'll just have to agree upon because of the different places and spaces in which we've been born or raised. Because who is it to say that what they do in the Maasai tribe in Africa, is wrong compared to something we would do here in North America?
right.
So can you tell us a little bit about who decides the moral compass would be? What would be the foundation?
Well, the foundation goes back to the inner. I mean, and just understanding who you are yourself and what you take as what makes you feel good. So now we got to get into feelings and emotions because now at this point, it don't have to be right, but if it make you feel good, it can be right to you. So I just think that it's the feelings. Now we get into the feelings and the emotions. I mean, but is that something that we should trust? But that, like you said, that's more we could talk about later. But that's where it comes from at this point. It comes from that.
Okay, so what you're saying is you are speaking to the moral compass born within that would have to be developed at some point, that's impressed upon by the traditions and the cultures and those that we're raised around. So that's what you're talking about.
Well, I'm saying that it's still hard to define what's and right and wrong still is going to come down to some type of emotion, which is a feeling, you know. So I just think that that's how most people judge their morals from that. You know, it's not, we can give a definition of it, but it's a feeling or understanding that they have. That's why I went back to beliefs in the beginning. Then we come from belief, then who are they? So you get into the persona or the character or the personality of them to really understand where they come from, you know? So it just come from, like I say, traditions do hold us, you know, and but they still have the acceptance of something. So long as they believe in something and they're doing something for the good, no matter what it is, I think that's still a great form of practicing virtues and practicing morals.
Mr. Westbrooks, if we can get you to tap in here, I would love to hear what you have to say so far about what you've heard.
Sure. And I will also pull up that definition too, because I was actually breaking the number down to see what it added up to. But I will come back to that. But I'll start with the definition. So morals is the plural of moral, and the moral is a lesson, especially one concerning what is right or prudent that can be derived from a story, a piece of information, or experience. It's also defined as a person's standards of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and is not acceptable for them to do. So even with both of those definitions and tying back into what Brother Mack stated, when you look at experiences and ideas and stories and feelings, the one word that comes to mind is subjectivity. So morals are subjective. What one decides is what is right or wrong is subjective, but even though it's subjective, it can be agreed upon within a particular environment or society. So what we're seeing now in 2024, if we're looking at America, this country or this nation as a whole, or even if we look at a smaller subset, maybe a local town or city or neighborhood, we're seeing that I guess what the agreement is, or the consensus is there's not as much of a consensus as there has been in the past. I'm not sure where that originates from, but the understanding or what's commonly accepted as morals or what's right or wrong is not as narrow as it used to be, and that's what contributes to the complications that Brother Mack alluded to.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Westbrook. I love to always hear what you bring to the table, because you definitely always start with that definition. That's the teacher in you. You did mention something about the number. We are all gematria folk around here, so I would love to hear what you had to say about the actual number for morals and how that ties in.
That's funny. Look, that's so funny. He said 70 around my neck too. When he came in, I didn't see a number. Right, we numbers, man.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah. Yeah,
But
you come back to me. I have those numbers for you.
Yeah, beautiful.
Awesome. Well, you know what? Let me jump in here and let's talk a little bit more about tradition.
Okay.
Okay, so traditions, these things that we pass down, right? At some point before us, there were those that decided upon what was accepted socially as right and wrong. So a lot of what was taught to people, children, and was that, according to society, this is right or wrong, regardless of what it felt like. Because remember, some of us come from a time where children were seen and not heard. So you weren't sitting there saying, well, that doesn't feel good to me, mommy. No, if mommy said that this is the way it was, this is the way it was. And if that was hard for my generation, I know before then you didn't even ask questions, you just did as you were told. So if we carry that down all the way to where we are right now, talk about the disconnect, you know what I'm saying, of they don't even carry those traditions anymore. It seems like now they're coming with a whole new set and trying to redefine what morals are and what's right and what's wrong. So I would ask with that, when trying to reestablish this morale for humanity, something that's going to allow us to not destroy ourselves, because it takes empathy for morals to really be in play. So how do we get people to decide that there is a moral compass that would lead us more towards the life that would be utopian, like, for lack of better words?
Well, they planned that for the youth anyway, but they didn't see how fast technology was catching up with them, where they'll be able to learn on their own and they can do their own thing and not be told, right? Because we were smart. I ain't gonna cuss on her, but we were smart, you know. You see what I'm saying? So I just seen it as they had to take control of that and dumb them down, because they was in the process of trying to dumb us down at the same time through the traditions. You see, so you right on with it, because the tradition we really had, when I grew up and just had my understanding, I felt that I was smarter than my dad. He didn't have to tell me that, you know. And then I said, if I'm smarter than him, then that means if I have anything, it's gonna be smarter than me. So I'm looking at, okay, there's no way we should go backwards nowhere. And I'm already mad. 4,000 years ago, they were smarter than me, so I'm already hurt. So we're gonna fight it, come on. But anyway, I just seen them as they've been dumbing down for a long time. So they don't have the true moral idea of how to move forward with all what they have as far as this positiveness that's always been there through tradition and culture, always been. So they don't look at it that way. So they looking at it in polarity, but they actually have the negative part of it, because that's what socialism and the social site has done to them, for them to understand it that way. You know, so it really I told you, it's a demoralization process, and it's been going on for probably 200-300 years.
So when we have those who say, who decides what the morals are, what do you say to that?
I mean, the people who say that, I just call them a fool, because you can't. You can't know. I can't see. That'll take us to another conversation of understanding. And the understanding is, if you say you right, then your actions gonna show it. I don't have to hear your words. So it's nothing you will have to say to me. I already understand it, because I can see it and feel it through what you say you do. So that's why I love keeping my word, because then everybody get to feel my spirit.
But just because they don't agree with something that's you say is right, they say it's right on their side, you say it's right on your side. Who's to say that one has more merit than the other? What if according to that person's tradition, cultures, and upbringing, that was right for them, and it's not in line with yours, but they were raised in a different place at a different time by a different people with different thoughts. So in that case, who can say in that moment, I'm right and you're wrong?
Through the results of the fruit that you bear or the fruit that you lay. You're supposed to have your seed planted. If you don't see it grow, then you have nothing positive, or what you consider right is right, because nothing came out of it. You have to see a result. If you don't see no result, there's no way we can talk about it. You can tell me all day, but it ain't never came out the net. You keep on trying to keep trying to keep trying. That is not, that's a cycle. That's a prison. We don't need to be in a prison. We said, what is my out? My out is you got to come up with a solution And if you follow it and you getting results, believe me, the more it's cause and effect. The more you put in is you're gonna get just as much back. A lot of people call them blessings. And I love calling it that.
Okay, okay. So we can't talk about morals without talking about virtues. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit more about stripping away tradition and culture that is counterproductive to the life we say we want to live. Because you just mentioned something really important, which is the fruit of our labor being shown, it being made proof in front of us. So with that being said, whose responsibility is it to point out to said brother or sister, this is something you need to examine because your moral compass is out of order? What gives us that authority to do that?
That's a broad question, but I can narrow it down. It's a broad question, but I'm gonna narrow it down real quick.
Do you?
For one, the people who have this intuition, which it is a great intuition because it comes from the gut. You have a great feeling about it. So it's about feelings too, but you can have a wrong and a right feeling. But anyway, it still is. It comes to you can connect just by the understanding. I'm telling you, we're gonna always get back to belief or understanding who a person is. It's not your job to change them. It's not your job to pull them up. It's not that, because they'll seek it. We don't have to. You don't look for this. You can't look for correction. We searching for correction. So how we gonna have people looking for it through us? How we looking for correction ourselves?
Absolutely.
We started trying to fix us. I told you it's all about self too. We got to find out what. But the whole story is nobody want to look in the mirror. Okay.
Ooh.
So if you don't look in the mirror, you can never heal. You can never understand what's really going on around you. You can't. So really, when we talk to them, reflection is always going to be our understanding, because if you don't understand what you need to purge, you got to understand or practice more virtues, and we should be there to show them, but it's up to them. Okay.
I agree. I agree in regards of, the man in the mirror. Actually, when I did your advertisement today on IG, that was the music I used, was Man in the Mirror, because that is what it's about. It's about really going in and taking a look at ourselves. Many of us don't realize the conditioning, which is one of the words that you wanted to share with the people, in terms of talking about this subject. But many of us don't want to go in and face the fact that we have no idea who we are until we strip away everything that's been layered on us without our permission or our knowledge. You know what I mean? I don't remember asking for that order. You know what I'm saying? So when seeing that, when we see a brother or a sister who is reluctant to start that journey, would you agree that it's important for us to really just show them by example?
Yeah, but most people are blind. Nobody ever see what's in their face. I mean, that's gonna be hard for me to accept that, because most people never see what's in their face. They don't even know how to judge it. So, and you can't judge now, you can't see. So it's like it's a lot of stuff just even when just saying that, because that's a lot of thought. That is the tradition. That is the culture. Then from that, you do get into the conditioning. So I'm glad you went there with that, because that's very important, because through the conditioning is why we accept the cultures, period. So now it is, like I say, I love going from really the main thing of breaking it down and going straight to the point. The point is the conditioning. And then in conditioning, people don't really realize that once you do reflect and you do see yourself, understand your time in life. I would always ask and tell people to understand your time in life, because if you 50, 40, 25, 30 years old, 15, they got a good start. We need to catch them conditioning in 15.
Exactly.
They only got to wait about 5, 6 years to get caught up.
But that's it, right? Except for us old crusty folks, right?
50, you're going to have to wait 25 years to purge all you done had all that time you got a long time ago.
Absolutely.
And that's just good. But I just think we just remind, because it's never no time that you can't start. So that's a good practice, because like again, I was telling you that most people, when you tell them I'm practicing something, they have no clue what it is. And then when you tell them what it is, they don't understand what does that mean. You see? So getting into, like you were saying, like the conditioning, that part is where you you lose focus on. You don't have to focus on that no more. And that's what I think is a big distraction, is that. And like you said, how do we correct it? It's gonna be difficult. Just tell people to understand themselves. And they got scriptures, and everybody say that every day because everybody recite it, right? But do they understand what it means? Know thyself. It start with you. My brothers, we understand BLI temple. They say, okay, well, we got temples through the Islamic way, and also how we apply it every day with our life. So we can talk about it that way, and they can have it either way, that whatever it does to help build themselves. So like you said, getting into virtue is a start of a practice to understand, even to know what the virtue is, to practice it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So a conditioning can hold you back from accepting these virtues. And
Yeah.
I know you just practice it. Most virtues are not bad. Most of them gonna try to at least enlighten you some type of way to make you feel good
Right.
yourself.
Yes, definitely. You know what? I want to just take a moment here and formally welcome Cedric to the room. CJ, I also wanted to invite, if you had anything you wanted to put in the chat. I think I did say it before, or you are definitely welcome to. But I would love to hear from Brother Cedric what you thought about so far, about what you've heard.
It's always a pleasure to hear Mack speak. He's very informative. I don't have a whole lot of input. Just want to be the fly on the wall and hear my man speak. This is a journey that I'm kind of starting out and getting acclimated to my moral compass.
Okay.
So brother said, we got brother Nick on the wire, as we say back in the day, but he's on the line. He just like us, very inspirational brothers. He put in all that work like you do. Like I tell him, you're a gifted person on what we do, and he's just like you. He put in that work just like you do every day, my brother. So he right there, and he doing positive things in the neighborhood. It's been a blessing for me to even communicate with him today, and I appreciate her for even introducing me to him. Because me, with like-minded people, man, we can create nations. We can create a lot of different things just on a simple things of what I know I could be accountable for. I know he got his part. I know what she got. I know what you bring, Shay. Actually, I know what everybody on the wire right here can bring. And I think this has just been a blessing. I appreciate everybody that's here on the line.
Thank you, Mac. Thank you. I was going to say to you, Brother Cedric, thank you so much just for being here, for being a fly on the wall. And something you said stood out to me, that you were, just starting this journey really and getting familiar with your own moral compass. So I like to say that you are in a great space for that, because it's very important to not skip steps. That's what I tell people. You can't skip no steps when you're doing this purging right here. This is a whole nother program. And it's not for those who quit easily. So I give you kudos for digging in and getting ready to do some really serious searching, because I do know it's not easy. So welcome to the space. Nick, did you have something for us? You were coming back with that gematria for us for the word morals.
Sure. And I'll be coming from the Chaldean and the Pythagorean systems. I'm not familiar with the gematria system, but I did both words. I did moral as the singular word, and I did morals with the S as a plural word, as they both carry different vibrations, different energies. So I shared the definition of moral and morals, the dictionary definition a little earlier. And when we look at the word morals with the S, the plural, in one system, it adds up to the number 20, which you can reduce down to a number 2. And then in another system, it adds up to a 24, which you can reduce down to a 6.
Yeah.
Now, number 20 in the tarot, that is the awakening card. So you'll see how there's some alignment between what it means to be moral and to have a moral compass, and a vibration of the word itself. So just to toss out a couple of words to describe morals from a vibrational perspective, balance comes up a lot. Balance comes up in both systems. When you look at the plural form of the word with the S, number 2 points to balance. Number 24 or 6 points to balance also. So in order to have morals, or to determine what a group's or individual's morals are, you have to come from a balanced approach.
Right.
Now we see it. Now also see it in the singular word moral, in the Pythagorean, that adds up to a 5, which is balance also, and it's also change and adaptability. So your morals may change depending on your experiences, depending on your feelings, like Brother Mack says, And let me see. I wrote some things down. Some kind of jumping around a little bit. So I wrote all over the page, but going back to let me go back to the number 2. I'll just start with there and come down. Other words that come with that vibration of the plural word of morals in the Chaldean system of the number 2. It's it's an approach that you need to have with care, that you need to approach with care, love, cooperation. So when you're forming your morals, or when you're teaching morals to a group of people, you have to come from a position of care, love, and then cooperation comes from finding that agreement of what the morals are. It ain't gonna work if one person is trying to hand down the morals like, this is it, you got to follow it this way. It should be a collective group effort to decide what the morals are, and you need to express or show care and love when you're teaching morals, especially to the younger generation. We talked about the disparity or the disconnect between the generations. There might be that love or that care that's missing when the older generation is teaching morals to the younger generation. And then that's on the positive side. On the negative side of the two, that number 2 vibration can fall into hypersensitivity. so you want to go to the other extreme and become hypersensitive when it comes to teaching or even receiving or learning the morals. Understand the positive intention behind teaching morals. Also with that number 20 in the tarot being the awakening, it's awakening you to a new ambition and a sense of duty. So by learning these morals and putting in the discipline, because discipline comes up in the singular moral without the S, by applying that discipline, you grow in those morals and you adapt a sense of duty or a new ambition. There's also a balance between the spiritual side and the material side, which there's been a lot of talk about. Rue, you remember in the video clip that I shared on Instagram the other day, you say morals over money. and we're seeing an imbalance in morals and money here.
Yes.
So the number 20 is teaching us that our spiritual side and our material side needs to be in balance.
Right.
When it comes to morals.
That's the only way that we can ensure true humanitarianism to do what it needs to do and shaping the future is by having that balance. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Mhm.
And let me just say the gematria side of that's just basically the same thing as numerology. It's the same thing. Is the nuances of it are you use the Hebrew language and the Arabic language, and so that's what makes it different in that way. But yeah, it's a great book. It's a great book on that called The Magical Alphabet. You might want to check that one out. But see, I should have brought it on unread. Look at me giving away some of the gems on the low. Brother Cedric and CJ, I don't know if you were in the room when we were saying that Nick and I have a show that we do every 2 weeks. It's called Unread. We talk about some books in our libraries that we had to have, but have not had the opportunity to get into it, and what made us want to buy it and bring it into our sacred libraries. And then we also talk about books that we call rereads, and ones that we use in our everyday practices and living and standing by our moral compasses. So you will give that information to Brother Mack so he can share that with you if you ever want to check out some of the episodes over on YouTube. This is a great conversation. I am really enjoying this because, I have a background in comparative religion. And so because of that background in comparative religion, I tend to come in touch with, I have in the 30 years that I've been doing this work, come in touch with people from every walk of life and from every religious practice. Just about, there are some obscure ones that I haven't had the opportunity to fully dive into, but for the most part I gave respect to the three major religions and a couple of the ones that they consider secondary, but we know were before those. And definitely giving some look into the earth and our ancestors and all of that. So I find it interesting having this conversation because I think about some of the traditions that are taught through religion, and some of in that dogma, some of the dogma, there are these different things that you can and can't do, these laws and rules, and you have to do this way, but if you're from this religion or this religion, you can do it this way. So, and everybody's right. So they say, everybody's right. Everybody's right. Nobody wants to be wrong. So you have these conversations that never go anyplace, So what I'd like to ask you, Matt, because you talk a lot about taking religion out of the conversation of morals. And so I'd like to know a little bit more about how you are able to do that.
Well, for one is you have to understand multiple religions, but that's another story. But them as people and what they believe in, and then from that point, you having a little bit of understanding to be able to conversate to them, to allow them to see it in a different practice or a different way from whatever you believe in. So I could believe in something and still should be able to come to you and say it within your religion or your understanding and still give you that same answer, right? So that practice is understanding to be able to do it on all these different levels, because that's the only way of communication. That's the only way we'll have to understand. But it still come from them understanding what they believe in. So once we find that, we can find a common ground, and then from there, that's where the traditions can be changed, because now describe what that book means to you. Because if you tell me, well, they say, they had war, they said this, then that's a whole different approach. And a lot of people believe it in this way, right? So how do I come back and correct that? That's the main thing. That's like, ooh, that's radical, because we got radical religionists. So it's like, okay, well, how you believe that? And every religion is supposed to be right, like you just said. So if every one of them is right, this woman here can't show her face. This one over here can't do this. I'm like, man, what kind of religion is this? You know what I'm saying? So we have to go back to what is religion. You know what I'm saying? On as being a tie bind on what it is doing to you and how the process or that system was used upon you, right? So I always say, to make people wake up at this point, look, one you're born with, one you're taught. You figure that out. So what you're born with is the true understanding of what religion is, because the religion that you built upon from that is what you did anyway religiously. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
We had in the chat, we had a comment in the chat. It says, at the root, it's all the same fundamentally. The practice just different. My opinion. Thank you for your opinion. We appreciate that. That's what we do around here. We allow everybody to have a say. I actually, when you were talking, it actually gave me like a 2-part question for you, because at the end of the day, you see where we are right now in terms of how people feel about religion and spirituality. I think, Nick bringing up the Great Awakening card. I did a reading the other day and came up with that same card. So from a whole different deck, it is a great awakening going on. As an Aquarian, I can say this is the age of the Great Awakening. I feel it each and every day. For those who know, they know. They don't, they don't. It is what it is. It's still happening, whether you believe it or not. But nonetheless, my question in 2-part is this: with everybody throwing religion out the window, because you just got people that straight hate religion now. They just like, oh, it's garbage, it's trash. You got people doing that. You got people trying to go back to their indigenous roots, their African culture, things like that, but getting a whitewashed version of it, because most part, they never gonna let you get what you got, right? So with that happening, how important do you think it is that we have something in place in those spaces that allow the person to get the fundamental, as they said in the chat, the fundamental aspect that activates the moral compass within them?
Well, what happens is it's already there. It's nothing that we truly have to activate, because I told you it's a feeling. You have feelings every day. So within having these feelings, I would say it's an underlying thing of what's right and wrong, because it's nobody who ever did anything wrong didn't feel some type of way about it. So that is a form of a spirit that's within you at that time you did it, right? And your moral, when you do it morally correct, it's an even different feeling, and actually it's a little bit more stimulating. But I know a lot of people that like bad stuff that stimulate them more than the good too. So, and then I understand that too. And the parallels are the same anyway. It's the same way, But it's just identifying still a positive application. We're gonna go to systems. It has to be a positive application. There's something they do repetitive in order to see results. Without anybody can say anything moving forward, but if they don't never see results, how can they ever believe in it? So you can't believe it. Once you start believing, then you can build your compass from that, because now you have a greater feeling, because everything you wanted to come true did, not as a dream, but as in reality, because you chose that. Nobody put that narrative in your head. You didn't have to go to school to do this. No, no, no. We have stuff embedded. You like talking about the ancients. Yes, we got a genealogy in us, thousands of years old. We just have to tap into it. We got everything positive in our airspace. We have to be able to download it the proper way. So everybody have access to all this knowledge. So it's not, I'm smarter than this person, that person. We have to just understand how to untap that they already have within them. And that'll be the only way. But it's always going to start with self again. We're gonna say this word about 100 times before we get off this phone. It's self.
But we had a comment in here from CJ. It says humans are flawed. With that, people bring their flaws into religion, which we know is very true. They use it to control and gain. You have to look within yourself and not others when it comes to it. I have no problem with religious people as long as they aren't forcing it onto others. It's okay to teach others about yours, but they don't have to follow. Thank you so much, CJ. That is definitely a nice add to this conversation, and it actually takes me into the next part of that question, because I told you it's a 2-parter. So that second part of the question, with everybody throwing religion out the window, but some of us still having some of those sacred texts, how is it that you see we would be able to take what people say they believe and talk to them on their level?
See, that's a good question. And then you heard me earlier, I said we're going to say it on a Solomonic era, era, and also we're going to do it on an everyday level on how you apply. So getting into that is, Like, you have to understand a lot of different ways of what people believe in. So if you can, that's how you have a decent conversation. I ain't said great. I said a decent. All it takes is a decent. We ain't gotta have no super deep, none of that. But if I understand you, that lowers the guard a little bit more for now. Okay, let me really talk to this person. So it's all about getting a certain bond between a person and spiritually, because it's gonna come to that point, especially when we're talking about spirituality. You're gonna get to that point no matter what. So but getting a person on those level is understanding where they come from and understanding what they believe. Because then you can use those scriptures as power and reinforcement of belief and of morals. You see, because now, like you said, every religion have some type of virtue or something that it tell you that you should or should not do, which we call a law. So all of these religions have some type of law within them, you know. So then once those laws are understood, then when I first started my business, the only way I went was to certain people who say they were certain things. I understood they really believe that because I seen how they move every day and what they did, right? So I seen the law that they put themselves on. I'm gonna pray 5 times a day. This person said I'm gonna pray every morning before I get home. They did it every day faithfully. That's what they believe in. It took an effort. So when he talk about duty, that is what we call a love duty. You see what I'm saying? That's something that you truly love at this point, because if you don't love it, you ain't gonna do it. So, and if you ain't gonna do it, you're not doing your duty. But anyway, but yes, I just think that in order for people to really move forward on that, is they have to break down each one of these steps, as you say, as a purge, and eliminate it through the conditioning. And you have to identify your conditioning. Okay. If you don't identify conditioning, we won't go. And one thing to explain, my brother said earlier, Brother Nick said, he was saying about the generation now that is tougher, that they don't understand. They don't understand it because, like I was telling before, they taking it, they stripping it from, they stripping religion already out. At least that brought us some tails in and made us come, and it reinforced some type of belief within us, even though we didn't want to go to church, this and that. But it installed a tradition of faith, and it installed certain things as a youngster, right? They took that out of the youngsters now. So that little bit that did hold us up to be protected to where we are now, they definitely don't have that no more. So think about how we really going down, and then not just that, we say we got 20, 30 more years. They got 40, 50 more years. So what they gonna do within that 20 to 30 more years without us? You know what I'm saying? But it's not for us to think that way. But what is it that we can keep showing them to get them to understand that? Go back to traditions. You know, the real ones, not the ones that they put in your face. It's the one that you truly had, that every family was successful doing. You see, it's a success behind traditions. It ain't just the get-togethers and none of that. We got land that's 200 years old through tradition. You see? So people just have to understand how to break that down and what part you believe in and what part not to do it. You know?
Absolutely.
Digress on that.
Absolutely. Nick, you got some feedback up in there for us? What you think, what you got going on over there on your side?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I'm glad you brought up well, both of you all brought up the religious aspect of it. And it's complicated. You know, I have a complicated relationship with religion, especially when it comes to morals, because I learned I got my first initial moral compass from religion, and it and it definitely kept me from it definitely kept me out of trouble. You know, just growing up as a young man, as a teenager, my teens and early 20s. But the other side to that was I didn't get the balance in terms of, I guess, in terms of the spiritual teachings. That was the spiritual and historical teachings were kind of out of balance. But going back to the point that Mac mentioned, well, no, it was actually CJ that mentioned how humans are flawed, and they bring the flaws into religion. That's why it's important, going back to that balance. That's why it's important to have a balanced approach when that moral system or compass is being created. But we know that when you study the history of religion, a lot of those laws and doctrine were created out of, I guess, out of those that had absolute power, and they weren't held accountable, or there wasn't a checks and balance there, because they just overpowered everyone. So those flaws were able to, I guess, exacerbate because there was no checks and balance, and those flaws were allowed to run wild. So that's just something that came to mind as you all were discussing the morals as it relates to religion.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I often got questioned, I won't say criticized, about how I raised my children. I raised my children very open. I allowed them to understand that, there was no one way. What my walk was didn't necessarily have to be theirs. However, we agreed upon, a foundation. I established a foundation of behavior in my home and the expectation of behavior from them, that from the things that I've learned, I was able to extract from different spaces the things that would help them to be a better human, whatever that is, because now I don't even know if I like the humans. But anyway, what I will say is that when because my children range in age from 38 all the way down to 26, and I have grandchildren who are teenagers, I can look at my children, I can look at my children raising their children, and I can look at my grandchildren and see completely different things. And I can even begin to see spaces where the moral breakdown, if you will, began to happen. We often forget that accountability is important also when it comes to living this life. Morals, we say that that's the thing you do when nobody's watching, you still do it, right? Well, still, there should be accountability, because guess what? Like my mama said, somebody always watching. So before those reasons, we help each other to stay on the path. We are reminders and reflections to each other. So what we saw happen is we saw a generation of youth who were youth when they had their children. So they got this shunning, this shame, this compass twisted in them to make them begin to think that, if they didn't fit said standard, they were ruined forever. There was no fixing them and whatever. And they ran with that. And they didn't even try to hold on to whatever foundation they had. And because of the weakness, the weakness and wise, every generation wise and weaker, the wisdom of that group let them know that there was something, but the weakness wouldn't allow them the discipline that it took to be able to get back there. What we are doing right now and what we are seeing right now all over the place are these spaces where people are talking about morals. I was telling Mac that as soon as we said we were going to talk about morals, I saw like 5 shows with morals. And I was like, well, dang, say y'all don't know how to pick your own topic. I'm just saying, but nonetheless, it's a great thing to see, because as the vanguards and as the ones who are to start to set things into motion for things to be morally sound, and us truly to experience what humanitarianism really is. Humanitarianism is more than just giving some money to a fancy foundation. You know what I mean? Or building some schools somewhere. All those things are great, and they right on my checklist of things to do. Most High knows best. But what I will say is that when we recognize that we left a whole generation sitting we have to now reach back, and Mac knows that's our Sankofa statement. That's our Sankofa state. We have to reach back because, like I said, my children range. My daughter will be 40. You know, I see things in her that, and she even sees that there were just things she needed that I was not able to give at that time because I didn't have it. You know what I mean? But as I got it, I made sure I went back. You know what I'm saying? We kept that compass moving, because anybody that's ever held the compass know, even when it's sitting still, it's not sitting still. It's constantly moving. And if we're talking about a balance, you understand what I'm saying? There has to be constant communication in order to keep the moral compass in place. Not only communication with those outside, but communication with those inside. Because you got those inside. And we gotta really begin to have those conversations with the selves that we've put on over the years. And that's a whole nother thing with conditioning. So I'm gonna leave that where it's at. Brother Said, do you have anything you like to add? You've been that beautiful fly on the wall, but did you want to throw anything in there?
No, I don't. I'm still taking it all in.
Okay, well, thank you for sticking with us. We've been here for quite some time now. We're gonna be wrapping up soon. But I would like to hear you, Mac, talk a little bit about where you'd like to see some of these conversations about morals go, because you and I both know we are the most hating of having meetings about meetings kind of folks there is. We like solutions. So can you tell me, moving forward, what you would like to see for us in terms of conversation, in terms of action, and moving forward in discussions with these with the topic of morals?
Well, first I'm asking my brother Nick. He was asking about these warriors and these kings at the time. It's called his story. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about what we learn from his story, not what it really is. so yes, the conquerors did. But the second part of it is really, the first thing is just really understanding what does knowing thyself mean. You know, what are these words they talking about, tradition and culture? How do I fall into that? So every question that you ask yourself, just see how you apply it to you and where you are with it. Because then at that time, you're starting to identify. You are starting to identify yourself where you are within this system, because all of these are systems anyway. You know, mathematicians know that, programmers know this, because it's all how you write. It's always an if-then statement. You see, it's always this. It's always numbers, zeros and ones. You see, so on and off. That's what it is. It's on and off. The most basic form of a 0 and 1, on and off. But no, just understand through discipline. After you find out what can I do to do better, it's a practice that you have to follow, and just follow the small thing. It's a big word in there. Is, you know, how I want to say it. You don't have to do it all the time. You know, do it at moderation. Do it at your pace. Nobody can tell you what to do. Only you can tell yourself what to do. Only you know your limit of where you're going on the next trip or the next time where you want to feel good. You might not want to feel good right now. Let me take all this in and not communicate with nobody right now. Let me get it all in. That ain't selfish, but it's a great selfishness. You know, now you're getting to know yourself. So tell people to take time to themselves, you know, have that mental thought. You know, every peaceful time that you have, think about it, that's a form of meditation. Think about what could be. That's a positive thought that'll send something through your body to figure it out if you don't understand it, right? So it's just the positive vibes. I think people should just look at themselves when you go in the mirror. Are you that actor for the day? We talk about 2D, 3D all the time. You know, that's one of our favorite subjects, that 2D, 3D, you know. Are you going to the play or to the movie? You see? So you got to have two different ways you're going to have to act within both of these, right? You got a whole place you can move on one, you only got side by side another. And I'll leave that to another story. But anyway, I just think people should just practice and find a practice that fit and works for them. Use the religion that you do understand all the greatness in it and apply it to yourself, you know, and then spread that love. And that love will be do your duty of showing what you've learned. I'll leave with that.
Oh man, you know I'm over here like brewing with like 9 more things to say, but I want to,
Bring it. We got a little bit more time. Bring it. Let me get a little bit more.
I just want to I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I know it's late, but we on different time zones, so we just try to coordinate it where we can, have some time together. Moving forward, we'll probably do some pre-recorded stuff between, those who can be there and just share it with those who would like to see it. So you won't have to, kind of do this late night thing. But I do thank you for taking time out of your evening tonight to be with us. The one thing that I'd like to end with is respect. And when it comes to morals and us being able to bring ourselves back to a moral compass, in order to agree, we have to have respect. And so, this is, they call this a virtue. You know what I'm saying? And what I say to this is that in order to respect others, you have to respect yourself. And to really truly respect yourself, you have to deem yourself and show yourself worthy by looking in that mirror and being able to say, I can stand on where I'm at right now. I can stand on this 10 toes down, no worries. If this was it, I'm good with it. So I always tell people that is how I really gauge my moral compass many times, is if I can stand there and say, if this is it, I'm good. I'm ready. I'm fine. If I can do that, I know that at least I'm in the right place. If I be like, I might need a couple more days, you know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, we are flawed, but we are working on it daily. We are working on it daily. And please know that you can always reach out to me or to Brother Mack. Mac doesn't really do social media, but if you like to, well, most everybody in the room can get directly to Mac except for Nick. So I'll make sure that I'll be able to connect Nick and Mac so they can keep in touch as well. But I was gonna say, but other than that, if anybody has any closing thoughts they'd like to share, I will be sending Mac over a copy of the poem that we shared in the beginning. It is a reflective poem. I do retreats and workshops, and we do professional and personal development, and we use a lot of writing prompts. And I found that poetry is one of those things that allows people to take something and dissect it and find what works for them and begin to ponder from that point. And we call it leaning into wonder at the Center for Courage and Renewal. So I'll be sending that poem to him along with 3 reflective thoughts. You're more than welcome to, use them. Put them in your journal. Ain't nobody going to see them but you. So at least think about them. So I thank you all, and I will allow anyone that wants to say anything, we can do that, and then we will be done. And Matt, I know you'll be staying back, so I'd like to talk to you about getting those things over to you. Thank you, CJ. I'm glad you enjoyed the convo. I really am. We have a lot of these conversations. They can go on for hours and hours and hours and hours. So, and we cover a lot of things, but they're always connected. And that's the thing that we love, is that we always find the common ground. So thank you, CJ, for being here. And thank you, Brother Cedric and Max iPhone and Nick. So, and of course, Chris, thank you. Thank you, Brother Cedric. And so I'm saying my final. And I know that's Lil Mac. I know Lil Mac.
Before we go, I do want to leave everybody.
Oh yes, please. I want you to close this out. I wanted you to close this out, but I just wanted to give you the floor.
I want to hear a little bit more from Nick too. Let him give his closing too, because I want to actually hear him too. But I do want to say this. I do think that every religion and every practice do have some type of virtue or something that you can believe in to make yourself better. I'm just saying, I would ask everybody just to find that and then just practice that. And it's gonna shine. It's gonna go through to your effort. However much you put into it, how much it's gonna come back. Cause and effect, it's there. I'm gonna say that it's simply forming math. You know what I'm saying? But it is words in there that we do like to write down in obfuscation action. And I say it real fast, bye. Yeah.
I knew you had to do that. It wouldn't have been you if you didn't. Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, is it on me? I think you cut out. Okay. Okay, it's on me. All right, all right. I'll close out. I'll close out by tying a bow on what I was building on earlier. I've given the last 2 points on the vibration of moral. Now, moral in the singular and the Chaldean, that adds up to a 17-8, which is directly aligned with what we were discussing as far as the connection between the generations. 17 is a legacy leaving number. Number 8 is an ancestral old soul energy. So there's reminding us that in order to find our morals, we need to connect back to the ancestors. And going backwards and as far as going forward, we need to leave a legacy, whatever our moral compass is, that's the legacy that we're leaving for the future generations. And then on the Pythagorean side, on the modern side, the number 5, I already mentioned change, adaptability, but number 5 also represents freedom. So by having a moral compass, it's not removing your freedom. You're still free to think what you want, be what you want, do what you want, but the balance comes back into it. And you must have a balanced approach, or else you fall into overindulgence. That's the negative side of the number 5. And this last thing, Brother Mack, I think you'll appreciate this, going back to the word morals with the S, the plural. In the Chaldean system, there is a hidden master number 33 in there, MORALS, LNS. Those are 33 together. 33 is the master teacher. So 30 is the master teacher. 33 plus 3 is 6. So you see balance again. So it's the master teaching, healing energy that morals teaches us. So that's all I got. I love the conversation. Appreciate everyone's contribution. Everyone, be well, be kind to yourself and others, and keep striving to be the best version of yourself. Peace.
There you go. Beautiful, beautiful.
Okay, well, I think that's it. Thank you so much for joining us. And you know what? We will let you know the next time we are taking a healthy look at morals, because like I said, this is more than one conversation, and we are here to do something about it. We are here to talk about solutions. So with that being said, thank you, good night, and we will talk to you soon. Peace.
Hey, Brother Nick, I'm a Libra and I was born on the 7th.
Okay, number 7, yes, you got on there. Yep.
Balance of the world, man. We the balance. Everything you said was about balance, man. It's the most beautiful thing.
That's right. Yep.
But, but everybody can be balanced through love. But we're going to be continued.
Absolutely.
Keep going on that one.
Absolutely. That's right.
Okay, everybody's welcome to sign on now.
All right, I'll see y'all.